Welcome to the program. Yes, it's 3HL Weekly. I'm Joe Tilley in Mexico, where it's not exactly hockey weather, but it's okay. I can't complain. And of course,
it's minus 30 here today. It's probably 30 degrees there. I think it's orange shirt day too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, there's, I'm, of course, joined by Justin Fox, the president and founder of the 3HL. Justin, I think there's about, the high today is going to be 29. So there's about a 60
degree difference. It's supposedly, I think it's, I don't know. I haven't actually looked at it officially. I think it's minus 22 and minus 29 with the wind chill or something like that. I think I overheard them talking about it this morning, but yeah, minus 22 feels like minus 29. Unreal.
So there's a polar vortex in Toronto, and it's probably a good time for me to be away. But that's okay. I mean, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be talking about the 3HL. This is our second installment of 3HL Weekly, and got a few topics we want to touch on this week. Of course, let's start with a chat about some of the potential players that are going to be involved in the 3HL. Justin, who are we looking at as potential players? Of course, we know that our pal Bernie Nichols is going to be involved. I don't know if Bernie will be lacing them up, but he'll certainly have some involvement here.
Well, yeah, we'll try and get him out in the ice maybe for a little bit. No, I think that the idea with the 3HL, and this is where a lot of people question or wonder, like, what is the 3HL? The idea for the 3HL, or the typical player that would play in the 3HL. I mean, obviously we have ambitions to compete with the best of the best every league long term. But ideally right now, the 3HL will be a stop for players sort of at that level, just, right at sort of the NHL level, maybe not quite in the NHL, that are a step below that. Rather than going to Europe, rather than going elsewhere, they can come play on the 3HL. So it could be anybody. I mean, when we talk about names, we had probably 30 or 40 guys that had played in the NHL on the 3HL tour the last go around. So, and that was before we had, national televised games and different things that will be happening. So, I really see this as being an opportunity where you can have players like, I'll throw this out there. Sidney Crosby, tail end of his NHL career. Another one that just recently, I can't even think, Anaheim Ducks, Corey Perry, kind of was looking for a contract, signed that $1 million contract with the Habs a year or two ago. Those are the types of guys that I see early on where we'll be able to potentially lure them from the NHL, lure them into the 3HL. I call it sort of the David Beckham move, right? Where you might overpay a little bit, but you get that notoriety, that name brand player into the league. And I really see it. There's probably 3 or 4 sort of milestones. I think getting a premier player to sign a contract with the 3HL would be sort of step one. I think, on the tail end of their career. I think another one, a milestone might be a few years out, would be getting a top prospect coming out of junior to sign on the 3HL tour as opposed to going elsewhere. And then, I think we talked about this. Another one would be having an entire team move from another league onto the 3HL tour. And those, to me, are 3 sort of trajectories or player trajectories where we see the 3HL going. So to start, yes, you're typically looking at guys that played at least sort of junior, major junior, so CHL kind of, OHL, WHL, QMJHL, guys that played in other sort of tier 2 junior leagues that have then gone on potentially to play pro or have the capability or skill set to go pro. Those players then would choose the 3HL because of the excitement, the fast pace. It's really, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's really about the dollars that they're going to get paid and the fun that they're having. And then over time, I really see us being able to build up a community of players that are going to be excited to play on the 3HL tour, and we become the preeminent league globally.
Well, I see some comparisons here, like some, an alignment along with what the CFL used to be, for example. Like Joe Theismann came from the NFL played in the CFL. There's going to be players like, Rocket Ishmael, guys whose game really suits, guys whose game suited the CFL, guys whose game it will suit the 3HL as opposed to the NHL. There's going to be players that would be spectacular players in the 3HL, not necessarily so good in the NHL, and vice versa. You know, there's going to be players that their game's more suited for the NHL, not 3HL. So this is there will be a different type of player to obviously there's going to be some players who'd be fantastic in any league. You know, your Austin Matthews, your Connor McDavids, and Sid Crosby, a younger version of Sid Crosby, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These guys are going to be spectacular in any league, but it is going to take a slightly different skill set, to be successful in the 3HL versus the NHL. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, and I think if you look even at sort of the league now, and I don't really want to talk too much about specific leagues, let's say, but if you look at the style of play, you're already starting to see the speed of the game pick up. And so I think if you continue to see that, you look at the overtime. I mean, a lot of these players 5 years ago were not sort of used to that kind of pace of play, and now they are. Now everyone's familiar with the 3-on-3 play, the 3-on-3 game. So I think you're starting to see the entire skill set of hockey players shift towards speed, skill, and that dynamic play ability versus maybe the clutch and grab that was remnants of old, right? So I think, I mean, we had players in our league that excelled in junior, excelled in our league, and for whatever reason, just their play didn't translate into other pro environments. But I think, vice versa. You'll have guys that played pro in other, like, what would be deemed higher level pro leagues, literally like in the same season, came out, played, on the 3HL and weren't as dominant as you would have thought, right? They might have been sort of second or third on their own team. So not even the best on their own team. And so it's interesting to see how, the crossover will play out. But every player on the tour to a T basically said most fun they've ever had playing hockey. I ironically just had a conversation with one of them the other day. Again, they repeated that, they talked to a lot of guys that were on the tour. And they all talk about how it's the most fun they've ever had playing hockey. So I'm excited to get them back into that environment where, as hockey players, they can get out, play, enjoy, and have fun again, right? And be a kid again.
Well, no question, the emphasis in this league is on skill, and there will be no clutching or grabbing. There's no none of that stuff. They won't be dropping the mitts very often either. It's 3-on-3. The emphasis on skill. We're going to be talking about a game that's speed, stick handling, finesse, and we'll give our players an opportunity to really, really strut their stuff. I mean, they're going to get a chance to try things that, in a tighter, more condensed 5-on-5 style, they're not going to get that opportunity. So, I mean, the creativity aspect of it is going to be there as well. I want to also talk about some of the rules of the game. Let's touch on the rules a little bit.
Yeah, so that's kind of a good segue. We're just talking about the clutch and grab and things of that nature, right? And the skill. So I mean, obviously 3-on-3, the emphasis is on skill. It's on emphasis is on speed, finesse. You talked about. So with that in mind, and we didn't make up any of these rules. A lot of them are already widely used in 3-on-3, and I think a lot of people are probably would be surprised to know that and obviously COVID's slightly skewed everything, but pre-COVID, millions of youth played 3-on-3 hockey. So it's not like we just made up 3-on-3. And I mean, obviously it's played in the overtime and in the pro leagues, but a couple of the major rules is there's no offsides. So it kind of opens up the ability to kind of free flow throughout the ice. There's also what we call, there's no penalties. So there's no power plays. Really what we do is we have what's called a penalty shot with chasers, and it's an exciting scene to say none the least. Basically, you get a guy lined up at center. He goes with the puck. Everyone else is lined up with the blue line behind him, both his team and the other team, and it's a live puck, and they go. And so that's kind of how penalties are treated. The other major, I think.
Now just to clarify, he gets a shot first, right?
No, they can catch him. No, they can catch him.
They catch him. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's live. It's a live play.
So
now,
as soon as he crosses, so he starts from center.
So they blow the whistle and it's live.
Picks up the momentum, and as soon as he crosses the blue line, it's a live puck. And
no. He's standing at center. They blow the whistle. They're standing on the blue line behind him.
Oh, behind him.
Behind him. So he's got like a breakaway. Essentially,
so he's got a line to line break. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. From center to the goalie, he's got a breakaway, and they're whatever the distance between center and the blue line. They're that distance behind him, and they go, and it's a race, and a lot of fun, exciting plays happen. Once it's not like a typical penalty shot where it's dead after the initial shot. It's a live puck, so it's literally just like, okay, go right now. Let's keep on going. Mentioned the no offsides.
It's approximately 50 foot.
Give or take. Yeah, exactly. He's got a bit of an advantage. Yeah. So it's exciting. I mean, there's been a couple of guys that have been caught. Majority of times they don't get caught, but they're right there behind him, kind of, pressing the issue. And then, rebounds get put in, or guys cycle back and go the other way, almost on a breakaway, the entire other loop, because everyone's kind of rushed down them. So down that way. So that's one. Another one that I think is probably the most significant, at least in my opinion, and they're all major shifts from traditional hockey. Aside from the 3-on-3 aspect, which is obviously a major shift, is the fact that there's no face-offs. So we call it instantaneous puck drop. So aside from a center ice face-off after a goal, there are no face-offs. So essentially, what happens is there's actually very little reason for a face-off because of the rule changes. No offsides, no penalties, those types of things. If, let's say, the puck goes out of the glass, which is usually the most common reason for a face-off, or there's some other kind of, stoppage of play, basically the ref just grabs the puck and throws it on the closest face-off dot. Whoever's around gets it, right? So what ends up happening is people are smart. Puck goes out over there. They go stand there and get ready to kind of get that draw and then sometimes they'll get it. No one else is there, and they're on a break kind of the other way, right? So it just keeps the pace of play kind of ongoing, never ending, right? It's not like you've got these like delays. It's just always going.
Okay, so now he's going to throw to the dot that's nearest the infraction, say the puck over the glass or whatever. So everybody's going to rush over to that dot then, right? And then there's going to be a log jam at that dot. It
doesn't usually happen that way. Usually one or two people go that way, and sometimes you get a bit of a face off, but typically it's just he'll put the puck down and it's kind of like play on. Same with another one that I think is interesting. This was kind of pulled from lacrosse, and I don't know if it's utilized another 3-on-3. Is the goalie playing the puck. So rather than the goalie smothering the puck, sort of delaying everything, going for a face-off, the goalie now has to play the puck from within their crease. So the whistle's blown, it's goalie's puck, and they have to go play it. So that also keeps pace of play going. It sets up, two opportunities. One, obviously, fast break opportunities for the goalie to kind of headman the puck, headwoman the puck, whatever you want to call it. And then you've got the other side is now you've got goalies handling the puck, creates a little more of a dynamic where maybe they mishandle the puck, creates scoring opportunities. So there's a lot of different little nuanced rules that really lead to continuous kind of end-to-end exciting nonstop action throughout the entire 15 minutes or 3 5-minute periods, which is another rule.
Right. So did you say there is face-offs after goals?
After a goal, yes.
Okay, so after each goal there will be a face-off at center ice.
At center, yeah. Similar to, So it's sort of like a tip-off.
But that's the only time you'll see the face-off, and that's start of the game as well.
Start of the game, yeah, exactly.
Okay, and start of the period.
Start of the period, yeah. So you get sort of traditional face-offs at the beginning of play, basically.
Okay, cool. What about, let's talk about ownership and the community involvement and how that works.
Interesting. So it's funny. I actually literally just jumped off a call with somebody just prior to this call, discussing the concept of a DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization. So I've been looking at exploring this concept for a couple of years now. Just sort of the thought process of having, the blockchain tokens, the crypto tokens that would be show ownership in the teams or in the league. And how you could create sort of this voting mechanism using blockchain technology. Now this concept of sort of the DAO has kind of surfaced, or at least I've now kind of delved into it a little more over the past couple months, month or so. And it really, what it does is it allows for the community to own the entity. So in this case, the league, the 3HL, or the teams on the 3HL tour, and the community then to operate the business, and this is where there's sort of the hybrid model to provide some sort of oversight into the as simple as the day-to-day operations of the business, right? So things like who's the GM, who are the which players are getting are on the roster, or so it becomes almost this like it's like taking fantasy sports from as a sports fan to the nth degree. I literally, as a owner of the Toronto Bees, for example, can dictate with my portion of ownership who the players on the team are and whether they're signing this salary, that salary, who the GM is, all these kinds of cool, fan type activities that would be, take it to that next level.
Well, now, does that create problems? For example, I mean, listen, if you're going to hire hockey people to run your organization, like experienced hockey people, but they're at the beck and call of the ownership group, who can be pretty fickle. I mean, you've been on social media, it's like,
oh, yeah.
I mean,
I'm in Toronto. I watched
Austin Matthews has a bad game, and they want to send him on a mound. Are you kidding me? Mitch Marner, trade Mitch Marner, trade Mitch. You obviously can't do that. You can't operate a franchise that way. So who has the last say?
So these are very interesting points. I'm going to say this. Honestly, the answer is somewhat unknown as of right now. What we are going to do, and I think it's sort of a new way of conducting business. We're not going to dive right into the deep end necessarily, where every aspect of the team is controlled by the community or the fans. What you would do is you slowly start to implement different things. And yeah, I mean, you get sort of mob rule is what you're implying, isn't always right. And oftentimes can be wrong, very wrong. So I think, there definitely needs to be safeguards and mechanisms built in to avoid that. And you do, as you said, you want to give, the expertise of, hockey heads, give them a chance to also have their input into it as well. So I think there's definitely a fine balance, and that's where the hybrid, not complete DAO, but hybrid aspect, where you do have some management, some oversight, but there's decisions that are made by the fans.
Sure. Okay. But fans / owners.
Right. Because, and this is the thing, I love it. Very good point. The fans, who are the ones actually that would have a say, are not just fans. They would actually be, obviously, as we call them, backers, but they would be invested in the business. So they would actually be part owners. So it's, to say, does the owner have complete authority over a business right now? Probably not, right? I mean, you look at, most teams, there's probably an owner who now hires people and then allows them to do their job, right? Or at least
hopefully. In some cases they don't.
Well, this
we've all seen what meddling owners can do.
This is it, right?
Goes back to that other point. Like, we're gonna have some meddling owners here.
This is it, right? And so I think of the I think it's the Sacramento Kings owner. It's sort of like Mike. Was it Mike? No, not Mike Bibby.
Well, listen.
What's the other two? But
we can go through a whole bunch of them. There's Eugene Melnick is stuck his nose where it doesn't
belong.
There's a lot of Peter Pocklington used to do it. I mean, let's face it. this can happen when you got a situation.
Harold Ballard, didn't he back in the day?
Yeah, no question.
He lived in the arena, didn't he?
Yeah. He lived there, and so it was pretty easy for him to be a hands-on owner, and it didn't necessarily work for the betterment of the team, but of course that's something that has to be determined by each individual franchise, right?
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, the idea though is to have community-owned and operated to some extent teams and the league, and to build it out so that the community has a say in what's happening and what's going on and how things are evolving, both from a team and a league perspective. So that's the, and yes, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting to see, fans are going to be able to have, the fans are going to be able to really have their say in what's happening. Right. And I don't think, if Leaf fans, I mean, we're in Toronto, if Hab fans or, Oiler fans or, across Canada, Ottawa Sens, whatever, Calgary, should I name them all? Canucks, who did I miss?
Jets.
Winnipeg, Jets, right? If anyone, Nordiques, not maybe coming back as a 3HL team. If those fans had input, and could engage with the team to really dictate the future of the team, I think you get a lot of buy-in from the community. And that's where I see the world is shifting. And this is kind of this like Web3. And for those of you who are not aware of what Web3 kind of that concept is it's taking the sort of unilateral corporate, monolith, single owner kind of, and then you've got the peasants below, and now you're dispersing the control to everyone, right? So you look at it from a social media perspective, it's allowing you to own your data and to have that on your own person, and then you determine who and when and where your data is used. And in this case, you now have control over the common ownership of this entity.
Right, and it's going to be fun to see how this transpires, how it unfolds, because you're going to have to find some balance in terms of how far do we allow the individuals to go in terms of their input. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all the time we have for this particular installment. Any final thoughts here before we wrap it?
No, I think we. I think we were gonna look at maybe the cities, but we can. You know what? Let's do that next time. Next week, one of the things that we're gonna start to roll out over this week is we're gonna roll out almost like an upvote type of opportunity for fans to actually engage and actually dictate maybe where the next or where the first wave of 3HL teams are from, right? So we're going to have sort of a mechanism where you can sign up, you can create your account at least to get started, and cast your vote essentially to determine if a 3HL team actually comes from your community, your city, your location, your town. So we're going to start to build that out and really get the communities involved, right? So we want to see thousands of fans from a community. We say Leamington always gets kind of thrown out there as this sort of like example.
We'll use it as the token example will be Leamington. There you go.
Right, exactly. So these little, Vaughan, Orangeville. I mean, there's a lot of people places that we've already started to work with. People within the community, but we'd like to see the fans say, hey, you know what? We want a professional 3-on-3 professional hockey team on the 3HL tour in our community. And so we can support that team as they vie for the 3HL Champions Cup. So it'll be exciting. We'll start putting the list out. So fans, if you're excited about the 3HL and you want to support and you want a team in your hometown, be sure to drop a line or a like or a share. And if you're commenting on these posts, be sure to throw down, your comments. What city or town would you like? And if it's your hometown, which city or town would you like the 3HL tour to have a team in? So be sure to throw a comment and people, we can almost start using social media, throw a city and let's see how many likes it gets, right? We'll start playing with things of that nature.
if you're a fan who wants to see pro hockey in your town, pro 3-on-3 hockey, then let your voice be heard and see what kind of support you can drum up for your franchise, and we'll go from there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Drop. I'd love to see some cities in the comments below. So if anyone is watching, comment below. Where do you think the 3HL should host events, and B, where would you like? Oh, I just saw somebody say Cambridge. There you go, Glenn. There you go.
There you go.
Cambridge.
Vote for Cambridge.
All right, votes on Cambridge. Cool. So, everyone else throw down a name. Cambridge is on the list. So we'll, we're gonna keep building this up. And yeah, we're excited. Orange Shirt Day, as we said. I don't know. Is it what are we wearing orange for? In memory of those that were lost, I guess.
Well, you know what? It's never a bad idea to wear orange to support our First
Native
Nations
youth.
community. It's
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Awesome.
Anyway, that'll do it for this week's installment of 3HL Weekly. For Justin Fox, I'm Joe Tilley. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you next week.